Welcome to Field Day 2017.
CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day. This is K9VAR, K9VAR.
I'm Richard Davis, and we're here at Mars Park for the 2017 ARRL Field Day exercise. And the Field Day exercise is to try out and practice emergency communications. And so you'll see portable generators, portable antennas, portable equipment that could be taken into any type of national disaster, whether that be a tornado come along or some other disaster where communications such as cell phones and other would not be possible. So we're going to be taking a look today at the equipment and talking to the people about how they're going to set this up, and they operate the field day operation for a 24-hour period, and they operate on various frequencies, anywhere from what we call low band, which is 3 megacycle, all the way up to UHF, V8 satellite communication. So we'll be going through and talking to the various people about the operations that they're running today. Okay, we're here with two operators, and they got a nice setup here on the equipment. And I'm going to turn it over to Liam, who might turn it over to Cindy, and tell us a little bit about the equipment you have.
Hi, thanks. I'm Lance, W9QB, and this is Cindy, K9NAX, and we're with the Bolingbrook Amateur Radio Society, participating in 2017 Field Day. This is our radio. This is an older Kenwood model HF or low band rig. This is a radio that will allow you to talk around the world if conditions are right and you so choose. We just acquired this a couple of weeks ago, and I will let Cindy explain to you how this came into our possession, because it was her doing, and it's a rather interesting story. So this is Cindy, K9NAX.
Hi. We just moved to a new place and trying to acquire a little bit new furniture. I was hanging out on FreeCycle a little bit. Found a corner table, TV stand, and something just said, we need this. And so I reached out to the person. We ended up going and getting it, and we saw the radio sitting in a box in a bin in the garage. And it's like, amateur radio operator? Yes, not anymore. We're going to FreeCycle this, but he didn't want to give it to somebody who would not use it properly. So it's ours. So we got all the equipment here, and it was free thanks to N9 GJP, Keith. And that's who donated us, and with the only request that when we're done with it, we donate it to the next ham, and we will.
Yeah, that was freecycle.org, that the website they went to, and they got a deal.
Radio operator since 1982, as a novice originally, then upgraded to tech the same year. Mostly hung out in UHF, VHF radio. Lived in Bolingbrook at the time when I first got it, so Bolingbrook is my home club and always will be, regardless of where I live. And then ended up coming back to the area, and was just kind of out of it for like 20 years. And that's ham radio is actually one of the reasons of how I met Lance, because I heard that he had a call sign, and I knew the level of intelligence that it took to get that license.
Been a ham since 1994. I started off just talking locally with friends in the area, and through time, as you advance in the hobby and as you increase the level of your license, you gain more privileges, and eventually you get to the point where you get a radio like this that allows you to talk around the world. And there's so much to do. There's so much in the hobby. If you're not interested in talking around the world, there are local things you can do with local clubs, like fox hunting, where a radio will get hidden somewhere, and it's up to you to find it, so you practice your direction finding skills. The amateur community supports emergency services a great deal. When everything else is down, amateur radio works.
I am with Greg, the president of BARS, and we're going to let him tell us a little bit more about Field Day and emergency operations that the amateurs get involved in.
Well, very good, thank you. Field Day is an emergency exercise. Many people call it a contest, but really it's an exercise because we're out here setting up amateur radio stations in less than ideal conditions for the sole purpose of making as many contacts as possible to show how an emergency operation works.
Yeah, any emergencies that you guys have been in? You do other things around Bolingbrook and the weather.
Well, the Bolingbrook Amateur Radio Society has skywarn operations. That is, we make severe weather and any sort of inclement issues with the weather. We take care of coordinating that and relaying that information to the Bolingbrook Village Operations as well as the National Weather Service in Romeoville. Those skywarn operations happen throughout the year. They're most active during the summer months, though, because that's when tornadoes are most active. But otherwise, BARS really hasn't been involved in any sort of emergencies, but we are on hand should the village experience anything where communications is needed.
Tell us a little bit about what your equipment is and how it can be used.
The Bolingbrook Amateur Radio Society has been around since the early 70s, and it is a group of all volunteers who provide radio communications and, of course, enjoy the amateur radio hobby. The club has 4 different repeater systems. As you can hear behind me, that's our 2-meter system on 147.33 megahertz. We also have a 440 mixed mode repeater on 443.525 megahertz, and that repeater runs analog and Astro Digital P25 simultaneously. We also have a DMR or Moto Turbo repeater on 443.700, and that allows linking all over the world using the internet. And finally, we have a 220 repeater on 224.54 megahertz. These repeaters are used by club members and guests. Any amateur radio operator is welcome to use any of our repeaters. The club members, of course, help keep things going for the club.
You guys also provide for the licensed group to interface with the repeaters through the internet, do you not?
We actually do. Our VHF and UHF, or 2-meter and 440 repeater system, normally linked. We have a system called EchoLink. An EchoLink is an analog means by which anybody with a cell phone or a laptop computer or desktop computer even can connect into our repeater system from anywhere in the world using the internet.
Oh, and that's for both transmitting and listening?
Absolutely. You do need to be a licensed radio amateur to use EchoLink. You need to have a FCC assigned amateur radio call sign. That's the organizing body here in the United States, and of course every other country has their own organizing body. But here in the United States, you do need to have an amateur radio license to use the EchoLink system. You do not need a license, however, to monitor. If you have a scanner or if you have one of the inexpensive Baofeng or Ocean radios that are available on Amazon.
Okay, well, so anybody, can they go in and monitor through your cable or your computer links or?
So as anybody is allowed to receive or monitor. You do not need a license to do any sort of monitoring of radio communications. And there are actually other facets of the hobby that allow people to monitor different types of radio communications, not just amateur radio. Police, fire, EMS, railroad, you name it. There are different things that people can listen to while using a scanner or an amateur transceiver. You just can't transmit without a license.
Right. And you guys practice emergency situations otherwise, like for child hunts and things like that? Do you help out on that?
We will certainly be available to any sort of an incident, whether it's for practice or real life for the village of Bolingbrook. In addition, we have various exercises that we engage. We have a weekly information net that allows members to test out their radio equipment, check in a orderly fashion, and basically in such a way to practice what it would be like in a real life emergency situation. In addition, we engage activities that are called fox hunts, and essentially what we do is we have someone go hide somewhere with a radio transceiver. This is going to be somebody who's a licensed radio amateur, and then other people get their equipment together and use their equipment to try to find that person. So it's kind of like a radio amateur's hide and go seek, and that skill allows us to find any sort of errant transceiver, or for that matter, someone who may be causing errant interference or any type of interference to our system. So we are able to track that down using those skills.
And what about your meetings?
We meet the third Monday of every month at the fire station number 5 in Bolingbrook, 1900 Rodeo Drive here in town. It's right across kitty corner from the beautiful golf club here in town.
And if somebody's interested in getting a license, do you guys have classes or facilities to help them out?
Actually, we do. We just had our first technician license class back in February. We're going to be holding our next technician license class. That'll be the Saturdays in September and the first Saturday in October. More information about that and anything about our club is available on the club website at k9bar.org. Again, it's Kilo 9 Bravo Alpha Romeo.org. All of the information about our club, our classes, and all of our activities is available on our website.
In this operation we have today called Field Days is a 24-hour operation, right?
That's correct. The field day operation starts officially at 1 o'clock local time, and it continues for 24 hours consecutively. So we'll wrap up tomorrow at 1 p.m., Sunday, June 25th. And during this 24 hours, we hope to make as many contacts as we possibly can.
Okay. We thank you very much. And we're happy we could stop by here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out today. We appreciate you guys.
We're here again with Pat, and saw this interesting little setup that he completed to carry around his UHF and VHF, right?
That's correct.
So we're going to let you talk about it, and you also have created your little antenna wire launcher there. So.
Okay, and actually this is this setup right here is it's UHF, VHF, and HF. So this is capable of transmitting on everything from 400 megahertz all the way down to 1.8, which is a very broad spectrum to be able to transmit on. It's comprised of two different radios. One of them is dedicated to UHF, VHF. That particular radio also does crossband repeat, which means it can be its own repeater. And so, and what that would mean is this could be in a central location. You could have people walking around with walkie-talkies, all of them connecting to this, talking to each other, which is kind of a unique thing to be able to do on the go or in an emergency. And then the radio up on top here is the HF radio. That is capable of going very long distances. I myself have talked over 6,000 miles on that.
Yeah. Now, would you explain what a repeater is?
A repeater is essentially a radio, much like the one on the bottom here, that if you have a low-powered radio, you could talk to a higher-powered radio, and then that would repeat whatever you say to a broader spectrum or area.
Okay.
And then the same would happen then in getting an answer back, is they would talk to that more powerful radio with their less powerful radio, and it would again read broadcast.
Now, you also created your antenna wire launcher.
Yes.
Talk
Actually, it's a stolen plan. There's somebody else that actually makes these and sells these. I don't know if he has a patent or not. Doesn't matter. I looked at what he had, and I just went into Home Depot and stood in the PVC aisle for a few hours and picked out pieces, parts, and threw it together.
So that works off of air.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's all air pressurized. Put about 40 psi of air in there, and it'll launch over trees 50 feet high, easy.
Yeah, we actually have some video of you launching your pulling wires for the antennas. So this is, you're going to be operating primarily what on this?
I'm going to be operating 40 meters on this, 40 meter phone I'm going to be operating, and then also I'm going to be operating a digital mode that's called PSK. PSK, what it sounds like is it sounds like the internet modems from the 90s. That's what it sounds like to the human ear, but then there's a computer that decodes it, and it comes out on a computer screen as text, and then you can communicate that way. You can also send images, which is very important in emergencies. If you have somebody that's injured and you don't know what to do, you could take a picture if you have the ability to, and you could send that picture to a doctor who can then tell you, okay, well, you need to do this or do that.
Has there been any local emergencies that you guys have been on?
And no, I cannot think of any local emergencies that we've been on. However, we do also do parades. We do communications for parades, marathons, things of that nature, which the marathons can be interesting because you could have somebody that gets injured there, and then you would have to then call in paramedics because you're out in the field along the marathon route, and you're in constant communication then with a base, so to say, where all the EMTs are and everything like that.
You guys also operate a weather net, do you know?
Yes, we do. I am unfortunately not part of that. There are other people here that are very dedicated to the weather net, and it's really a great thing. Anytime I get bad, I don't live in Bolingbrook myself, but anytime I get bad weather, I'm tuning into the weather net because I'm not far outside of Bolingbrook.
Close enough to be affected, right?
Absolutely, and it's great to get to hear the all clear, or hey, you might want to watch out for this, or this might be coming through at whatever time. Unfortunately, you would need a ham radio in order to hear this, you don't need a license to listen, but you do need a license to talk.
Right.
And being a part of the Bars Radio Club. We're very fortunate that Bolingbrook backs the club 100%, and they've been very good to the club in the past and hopefully in the future. I don't see why not, because Bolingbrook sees that the usefulness in having that. And God forbid that some emergency does happen, some catastrophe, you don't have cell phone, you don't have landline, this will work.
Right. Yeah, I've been involved in things like that years ago. Where are your antennas for your repeaters are up on the water towers, aren't they?
Currently, they're up on the water tower, to my knowledge, at Janes Avenue and Boughton Road, and they are going to be moving a little bit further north here in not too long, just for a better site.
Okay, we thank you very much, Pat, and hope you guys have fun today.
Oh, we always do. Thank you very much.
We're going to take leave now of being here at Myers Park for Field Day 2017 and the group from the Bolingbrook Amateur Radio Society. And they're going to be here for the next 24 hours trying to make contact with as many people as they can from around the world on as many different frequencies as you can think of. Anything from satellite down to what they call low band radio, which is 3 megahertz. Wish them all the luck this year and be back here possibly next year. And you can go on their website at k9bar.org if you want to find out more information regarding amateur radio and any classes they may have coming up.